Welcome back, Focus Learners, to another explainer. Today, we're decoding a business model that is literally hiding in plain sight. Seriously, you walk past it in hotel lobbies, break rooms, airports, every single day. We are talking about the massive $23 billion vending machine industry. But listen, we aren't just going to look at how to stock chips and soda. No way. We're looking at the actual blueprint for creating massive wealth in this space. So, I've got to ask you right off the bat. Where do you think the big money actually is in this business? I mean, is it in finding the absolute cheapest wholesale price for a candy bar and, selling it for a $2 markup? Or maybe it's having 100 machines scattered all across the state. You'd probably assume the wealth comes strictly from the coins and bills getting dropped into those slots every day. Okay, let's dive into this, because this is the secret that's going to completely change how you view this entire industry. The big money? It isn't just in those daily sales. The true wealth actually comes from building a profitable route with several machines and then selling the entire shebang on biz-buy-sell sites like bizbuysell.com. When you do it this way, you can make 3, 4, or even 5 times as much money each year. And the best part? It's significantly faster and takes a fraction of the ongoing work. To really understand why these routes are so incredibly valuable, we have to zoom out and look at the macro picture. The vending machine industry generates over $23 billion in annual revenue. That is just a staggering amount of cash flowing through a business model that has incredibly low overhead. Honestly, it's a super attractive option for both new and experienced entrepreneurs exactly because of this surprising built-in profitability. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll be hitting 1. The vending secret. 2. Costs and earnings. 3. Setup and machines. 4. Operations. 5. Funding. And finally, 6. The payday. All right, let's get into section 1, the vending secrets. The famous author Stephen Covey always advised to start with the end in mind. And in vending, your entire game plan really boils down to this 3-step macro strategy. Step 1. You place your vending machines in high-traffic areas as quickly as humanly possible. Step 2. You optimize those machines to make them highly profitable. And step 3, you sell the route, and then you just simply repeat the process over and over again. Think about it. You're acting as a real business builder here, not just a glorified vending machine restocker. Let's move to and see how this builds into section 2, costs and earnings. Of course, before you can sell a business, you got to know what it actually costs to get it all off the ground, right? Well, the absolute beauty of this space is the insanely low barrier to entry. The vast majority of your startup cost is literally just the machine itself and your initial inventory. We're talking about a basic business up and running for as little as a $2,000 investment. Now, a lot of veteran operators recommend starting out with used or refurbished machines. Those are typically going to run you anywhere between $1,200 and $3,000. But if you really want a brand new machine tricked out with all the latest tech, you're probably looking at closer to $3,000 to $10,000 depending on the size and all the bells and whistles. But I know what you're thinking. What are these machines actually bringing in? Well, a really cool survey by thehustle.com of over 20 active vending machine owners gave us some fantastic real-world data. Take Jalia in Detroit, for example. She bought a machine off Facebook Marketplace for just $1,600. And guess what? It makes her $400 a month. Then you've got Everett up in Minneapolis, who has a top-performing machine pulling in $1,200 every single month. And get this, there's Jamie down in Dallas, who literally right out of high school is generating $10,000 a month just by targeting places like hotel lobbies and barbershops. That is seriously impressive. So when you average it all out across all those surveyed owners, who, by the way, average about 13 machines each, the typical machine generates about $309 in revenue per month. So you can see it's totally a volume game. You get enough of these reliable, low-maintenance little earners out there, and the numbers start to scale beautifully. Let's jump into section 3, setup and machines. Okay, so how do we actually get these things out into the world and making money? Well, there's a very specific critical sequence of events you need to follow to protect yourself. Notice what happens first here. Before you even look at wholesale candy, before you scout a single location, you set up an LLC. Why? Well, heaven forbid a heavy vending machine accidentally falls on someone, but if it does, you absolutely need that legal protection so you don't lose your personal assets. But honestly, even beyond the liability, putting your business inside an LLC wraps the whole thing up into a nice, tidy little package, so when it's finally time to cash out and sell that route, you're really just selling the LLC. It makes the whole transaction incredibly seamless. Once your legal shield is officially up, you've got to decide what you're actually going to sell. And guys, the options go way beyond just your standard sodas. You've got bulk vending, think gumballs and stickers, which requires incredibly low capital and doesn't even need to be plugged into a wall. Then you have specialty vending, offering stuff like hot coffee for offices or even luxury skincare and electronics at the airport. There are literally machines out there that cook fresh pizza. It's wild. Oh, and one quick note on food and drink. While it's super tempting to only offer organic, healthy snacks, the hard experience from veteran operators shows that in most locations, classic junk food is still what drives the highest sales. And this brilliantly illustrates what people are actually buying. When we look at the broader US market share, beverages alone account for nearly 1/3 of all vending sales. So whether you're running a standalone drink machine or a combo unit, liquid refreshment is an absolutely massive driver of this $23 billion industry. Moving right along to Section 4, Operations. Now, having an LLC and picking out an awesome machine means absolutely nothing if you don't execute on the logistics. Honestly, perhaps the single biggest mistake new operators make is buying hardware way too soon. You gotta get your location first before you spend a single dollar on a machine. The play here is you approach the business owner, maybe it's a local mechanic shop or an office park, and you sign a contract. Usually you'll be paying the property owner a 10 to 25% commission on the revenue in exchange for them providing the space and the electricity. Only after that contract is signed and sealed do you go out and buy the specific machine suited for that exact space. Okay, once your machine is actually placed, technology is going to be your absolute best friend. You must, and I mean must, invest in a vending management system, or VMS. By outfitting your machines with credit card readers and this VMS software, you get real-time inventory updates sent straight to your cell phone. It's a total game changer. You no longer have to drive all the way across town just to guess if you're low on Doritos. You literally only visit the machine when the software tells you it's time to restock, which makes your whole operation just so incredibly efficient. Now, here is an operational tip that is just absolute pure gold. You need to add a sticker to the front of every single machine with a toll-free number for refunds. Think about it. If a machine eats someone's dollar or it doesn't dispense the right change, people get mad, right? They kick the machine, they punch it, they shatter the glass. But by simply giving them an immediate, easy outlet to call for a refund, you'll prevent like 95% of physical damage to your expensive equipment. It's such a simple fix, but it saves so much headache. Which brings us to Section 5, Funding. Let's talk about the actual fuel for this engine, how you're going to pay for these machines. The core advice from our source material on this is incredibly firm. To quote it directly, I strongly recommend you don't use debt. Seriously, guys, the absolute biggest reason new businesses fail is simply running out of cash. If you saddle yourself with high-interest debt before you even know if your locations are actually profitable, you are just setting yourself up for immense stress and, quite frankly, potential failure. This comparison right here breaks it down perfectly. The recommended path definitely requires discipline. You keep your day job, you save up, you pay cash for your machines, and you basically treat this as a weekend side hustle while it grows organically. Now, the risky way is taking out these short-term loans where a lender just drops a lump sum into your bank account. The catch? You are immediately on the hook for those massive repayments plus interest, regardless of whether your machines sell a single candy bar that entire month. So please, stay disciplined, pay cash. And that leads us to our final stop, Section 6, the payday. That discipline leads us right back to our ultimate goal. Now, what's really interesting about this is the multiple 7. Out there on business brokerage sites, established, profitable vending routes can actually sell for up to 7 times their annual profit. And get this, you don't even have to wait a full year to list it. Once you hit a consistent, documented profit, let's say $2,000 a month, you can just calculate your annual run rate and slap a multiple right on it. So let's do some quick math, and I'll leave you with this final thought. If you build a route that nets you $2,000 a month, which is $24,000 a year in profit, you can turn around and sell that packaged LLC for roughly $100,000. Then you just take that capital, build another route, and do it all over again. So the question isn't just what snacks you're going to sell. The real question is how many routes are you going to build? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, focused learners. Remember, always start with the end in mind, and I'll catch you next time.